Hi everyone, it's Roger and James here from the What's on Disney Plus podcast. In this week's episode, we're going to be talking about the Disney and Sony deal that has been made for the United States. We're going to be talking about some other news, including the Matterhorn movie and also a social. Plus, we're going to be talking about all of this week's Disney Plus original content and some of the Star originals as well, and obviously a massive kind of full-on discussion about the Falcon and the Winter Soldier finale. Now, before we get into any of that, let's do some quick housekeeping. If you haven't already done so, make sure you do subscribe either on audio platforms such as Spotify, iTunes, or Google Play. You can also subscribe on YouTube. You can also find us over at what's on at disneyplus.com, so you can help like bookmark it, join the mail group, join Facebook, Twitter, whichever way to kind of keep up with our latest news. And also, we do have a Patreon and a YouTube channel member system where if you become a member and help support the channel, you do get to help kind of keep all of this stuff running and just kind of to help keep everything going. And as part of that, you get to take part in the weekly Q&A on YouTube, which takes place every Sunday evening. And then also you get early access to extra reviews. So there's this coming Sunday, they've already got access to Miracle. So that'll be the one that'll be coming for everyone tomorrow. And also just big shout out to all of our patrons at the gold tier and above. So let's start off with Sarah, who's at the executive platinum level. Huge thank you for your support. Andrew, Jacob, Caleb, Red Marsman, Andrew, Cody, Darren, The Juice, Lester, Lauren, and James, and what's on Netflix. And also over on YouTube, hello to Melissa, My VCR Still Works, Abina, Bad Dog Gamer, Joshua, Ben, Adam, Dawn, Martin, Jeremy, and Sarah. And again, huge thank you for all of your support each and every week. It really does make a massive difference, and you can become a member from as little as $2 a month. Okay, so there we go. Let's get that out of the way and let's jump into it. There was a massive news this week, and I've been saying about this for I feel like years about the idea of, oh, maybe Disney will just license the Spider-Man movies from Sony. And well, like 11 o'clock at night, sat there, and suddenly this kind of press release drops in, and I'm just going to read it out. Okay, so Disney, this deal includes US rights to the new cinema releases from 2022 to 2026, following their Pay One TV window, and library titles from Sony Pictures for Disney's streaming service and linear networks. This provides Disney with a robust collection of Sony Pictures universe of Marvel characters in their post-Pay One TV windows. So this deal will allow content to go on all of their platforms of streaming service, including Disney Plus and Hulu, as well as linear networks, including ABC, Disney Channel, Freeform, FX, and National Geographic. So this builds upon their prior agreements where some of the content was licensed to FX in their post-Pay One TV window. Deal also grants to a significant number of Sony's iconic library titles, ranging from Jumanji and Hotel Transylvania franchises to the Sony Pictures universe of Marvel characters films. What an awful name. Including Spider-Man. This gives Disney enormous programming potential across its platforms and makes them a key destination for the robust collection of Spider-Man films. Notably, the agreement provides Hulu access to a significant number of library content from as early as June. So, this was, and also they haven't announced how much this cost either. Now, this was one of those situations where essentially now it means all the Spider-Man movies and a whole host of other movies could potentially be on Disney Plus. They could also be on Hulu. So it is important to know, to be honest, Disney right now, they can sit there and go, all right, we got this movie. We can put it on Hulu. We can put it on Disney Plus, and we can put it on FX. We can put it on national. They now have the flexibility to almost put it where they want to, which makes a lot of sense. But what did you think of this deal when it got announced?
I was expecting a Spider-Man deal, and I don't think anyone's surprised by that. I was surprised by everything else, honestly. I figured it would be a strictly Spider-Man or strictly a Marvel content drop. But to get all of the Spider-Man stuff is huge. And then Jumanji is a great franchise. I'm surprised at how good the Jumanji sequels ended up being.
Yeah, they're really fun.
They shouldn't have been, but they were really good. And there's obviously a lot of other very good Sony content out there. So this was huge for Disney Plus. This is a great content addition once it starts dropping.
Yeah, so it's important to note. So we don't know yet really too much details about what titles are going to be coming on, when they're going to be coming on. important. So let's break it down into two things. We kind of got library content, and then we've got new content. So all the new movies from 2022 to 2026 from Sony, which will include some of the Spider-Man movies, Venom spin-offs. There's going to be loads of other stuff in there as well. So now they will have to go to cinemas. Then they'll have to go to like digital and home video system. Then they go to Netflix, and then they go to Disney Plus. It's important to know this process could take nearly 2 years by the time it's been in the cinema before it hits Disney Plus. I think that's important to know. So the new like Jared Leto Morpheus movie, what was it? I can't ever say it right. Morpheus, what was it?
No, Morbius. Sorry, Morbius.
Morbius. Yes, I keep saying Morpheus, but Morbius. So that one there probably won't arrive until maybe February, March 2024. So it's a while off. But as an order about them, movies in 2026 will still be dropping in 2028. That's the difference of, this is a long-term deal, and it gives Disney a lot of flexibility. With regards to like Hulu, it means that then they've got some contracts sorted now to get some new content dropping, because essentially after like 2022 2024 if they start losing all the NBC content, all the rest of it, this will kind of provide them with an extra layer of library content. That's if Hulu is still existing by then. That's the important thing as well, because the way I think it's going to be moving is I think there will be at some point a shift. But now they've secured all this. Now it also means that it potentially opens up a whole list of stuff to be coming. They very much made a very big note about the Marvel side of things, which very much to me feels like that's what they want for Disney Plus. So when they've got the Spider-Man multiverse on there, that you can go on there and you can watch Spider-Man, you can watch Amazing Spider-Man, you can watch, all these things to help with that aspect and have all the Spider-Man stuff in one place. Because Far From Home, not just Far From Home, but the new one, the New Way Home, and also the new Venom movie won't come under the new movies because they're not released next year. They'll come under the library content, so they still might have to go to stars first. But generally, this will just give access to a large number of. I think for a while that I always said I could see Sony kind of just licensing him out. But it's interesting as well with Netflix is making that announcement a couple of weeks ago that they've got the pay one window. We're all like, oh, well, there goes Spider-Man. Well, no. And you've got to, those deals were all being done at the same time, and I wouldn't be at all surprised if some of this stuff is non-exclusive, because also Sony are launching Video Pass. Currently, they're doing a test in Poland where they're given access to their movies as part of their PlayStation Plus service. So what I'm now thinking is if that's on a trial basis, maybe they're at a point where they've kind of license this out on a non-exclusive basis for some of their library content, and it'll be on multiple platforms. They haven't announced a US date for that PlayStation video thing, but they're doing a trial now in Poland with about 20 to 30 Sony movies. And I'm there going, connecting the dots, kind of going, okay, this all sounds like they've been putting a plan together.
I would hope so.
Yeah. So?
I don't always trust Sony to have a plan, but I think when it comes to Spider-Man, at the very least, they want to have a plan. He is one of their big selling points. The game last 2 or 3 years ago now was a huge seller on PlayStation 4. Miles Morales being a PlayStation 5 launch title was a big deal. Obviously, Into the Spider-Verse was a huge movie. They even had that exclusivity deal with Spider-Man coming to the Marvel Avengers game.
Yeah.
Don't know if that's going to happen since the game didn't exactly blow up the video game scene the way they hoped to. But
no, they just did they just launched a brand new event.
Tachyon something or other. Honestly,
I haven't played it since I finished the storyline.
Exactly the same. The single player was fantastic, but the whole game as service is just like, no, this is stupid, and it was stupidly implemented. But this is not about that. Yeah. No, when it comes to Spider-Man, they take it seriously. They know it is their cash cow, and they know that it is their into the Marvel universe, and they can milk the Marvel universe cash cow just a little bit with the Spider-Man titles.
I also feel like now that Disney only have to, once they finish off with the Fox deal, it kind of left Sony as the only partner they really have to deal with. So it makes it in some way a little bit like, okay, we need to work together to get all this done. And they've been co-financing films, they've been doing, and I just have been saying for a while that Sony and Disney are working together on a number of stuff, and it kind of makes sense in some ways for them to kind of come up with this deal. Sony are going after a very different market right now. They know they aren't strong enough to have their own streaming service, and it wouldn't work because it's just they haven't got the power for it. They've not got the scale. So they've gone out and sold their licensing content to the big boys, and they've got their money coming in. I think it is just just a great thing for Sony. I do think actually, this is where Sony's playing to the current strengths of the market. Every company needs scale, and these long-term deals. I mean, they've got to think now these are going to be temporary. There was this whole kind of thing. People go, well, they said they'd never license things. Things have changed. Things change all the time, and I don't know. I think one of my mods had said that a load of content had been dropping on Disney Plus in the Netherlands that they didn't even think they owned, kind of thing. So they are doing different bits and pieces. It's important to note this is for the US only. I suspect deals will be being put into place, but maybe there's existing contracts that they have to go around. Every country is going to have different rules, and so therefore that is what they can't just do a blanket global thing, because every country, there might be like every country could be available. Then if you're like Austria didn't, you've got it's difficult for them to do. But I will suspect that they will be doing little deals all over the place to sort this out. And yeah, I mean, it also opens up a whole host of other movies that could potentially come to Disney Plus with franchises, like Surfed Up, Hotel Transylvania, you got Jumanji, you got the Smurfs, you've got the Ghostbusters, you've got Karate Kid. They even actually own some of the James Bond sort of distribution rights. Funny thing as well, Quantum of Solace even actually shows up on the 20th Century Studios. They did the DVD release for that. So there's a whole host of movies, and they're not all going to go to Disney Plus. Some of them are going to go over to Hulu and be where they're probably be primarily based. But it does kind of, the whole thing of, are they going to be on a tab, or is it just going to be in the Marvel? But it'd make sense maybe to share them out, or they want to build up the library of family content on Hulu. I don't know, but it's all the new movies, I just think this is a great deal. Plus they can show them on ABC, FX. They've got that flexibility as well. Overall, I thought, well, other than getting the maybe the pay one window, it would have been better than pay two, but maybe pay two lasts longer. I don't know. This might have been an issue, but at the end of the day, it's just great to see Disney they are going all in on the streaming war. They're going into battle.
But even without that, making a deal with Sony is in their best interest, if for the only reason to get Homecoming and Far From Home onto the service at some point. I know Far From Home's probably a bit later. Yeah. And then obviously No Way Home or whatever I think that's what it's called.
To me, it's more about like, if there's one thing of them just done the deal for the Marvel thing. It's the fact that it's all their movies for like 5 years. I mean, that's quite a big one.
It's the Fox deal done a bit smaller. Obviously, we wanted the Fox deal so they get the X-Men content, so they get the Fantastic Four license.
Yeah.
But everything else that came with it, of course, we wanted as well. They don't make deals just for the Marvel universe.
Yeah.
But you have to assume that being able to complete the MCU, almost complete the MCU on Disney Plus with the Spider-Man films had to have factored into it.
Yeah, but no, so it's very cool to see them doing this. And my dog's having a fit outside.
Your dog and my cat. My cat is demanding attention right now.
He's Cats and Dogs. I think that's Warner Brothers. So that's all pretty big news. But it's probably going to be a while before we see it. Movies are going to start dropping on Hulu from June, so that's pretty soon. But I'm not expecting anything major onto Disney Plus for a while. I wouldn't be too surprised if we see the Spider-Man movies drop on maybe around the time that the Spider-Man movie comes out to kind of get people warmed up.
Well, if all the cameos that are rumored come out, I could definitely see people heading out to at least watch Spider-Man 2 and Amazing Spider-Man 2, because the ones that they're talking about are, of course, Electro and Doc Ock in addition to Spider-Man themselves. And there might be other ones that we haven't heard rumors about that might pop in. And this all could end up just being like really good marketing, and they're not in it at all. Who knows?
Well, I think because the actor from that played Doctor Octopus pretty much came out
Yes,
on Twitter and was
Alfred
like,
Molina.
yeah, I'm in it. He didn't. So that was kind of like, and they use it. Oh yeah, they're using de-aging technology on me. I'm like, okay, that's it's quite specific, but
it'll be interesting because this will be the third time that we've had multiverse shenanigans hinted at. The first time being Far From Home, and then no, it was just he's an actor, whatever. And then of course we were expecting WandaVision to have that's going to be the entrance to the multiverse, and the X-Men and Quicksilver, and that's another actor, actually, as a matter of fact.
Well, I think once like Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness was announced, we knew then that this was something was coming.
I wonder how many times they're going to play no, we're just messing with all the nerds who know the comics really well. We're not actually doing the multiverse. Doctor Strange is probably the limit on that. If they keep playing that card, eventually everyone's just going to be like, just either do it or don't. Stop teasing it.
Yeah, and also they wouldn't have done it unless they had something in place.
I would hope.
Yes. Right, moving on from there. It's been officially confirmed that Pixar will be releasing a new short called 22 versus the Earth. Will be coming on April the 30th to Disney Plus. It's a short that sees 22 defy the rules of the great before and refuses to go to Earth, enlisting a gang of 5 other souls in an attempt at a rebellion. However, as her cohort's activities lead to unexpected results, 22 subversives plot may lead to surprise revelation about the meaning of life. I'm going to put the teeth in. So, to be honest, we kind of knew about this about a month ago when it went up on the Disney Plus Latin press site, but it wasn't supposed to be said till now. Again, more short stuff, great. More stuff was Soul. Can't help but feel this would have been originally the DVD extra short that we always get with DVDs that we used to in the day. I think this is great. I think it would have been nice to have had it arrive on Earth Day with Secrets of the Whales. That would have been, but I don't know if maybe us going against the Earth would have been the best option.
You can make a lesson out of what you're not supposed to do. Either way, I'm looking forward to it. I thought some of the best bits of Soul, or the funniest bits, I should say, were the short interactions we got with 22 going through the famous historical figures and them. I guess they never established if 22 is a boy or a girl, so just go with they. Were they just annoying all of these characters? So honestly, making a series of shorts where they get to annoy even more historical figures, I'm all for it.
Yeah, no, that one's good. So we'll be watching that one next week. Also this week, some other news we had. Apparently Disney are developing, or it's actually been in development for 10 years now, a movie based on the Matterhorn, which is an attraction at Disneyland. It's currently going by the kind of working title of The Hill. The Disney side has said that they are trying to look for riders and stuff. No one's attached to it, but it'll be a Disney Plus movie. Interestingly enough, this was the movie Third Man on the Mountain, which was made in the 1950s, was when Walt Disney went out to the Netherlands to make the movie. He then got inspired by it and then made the attraction in Disneyland. So it's kind of like a interconnection. How this all works out, how they can, you've got Harold the Yeti on board. They call him an abominable snowman, but it's all the same, isn't it?
I just hope that in the movie they refer to the fact that he never works on the ride, that he's been broken for years. I know, but he's been broken for years. Either way, obviously we don't know details yet. There's potential to it, though. Obviously it's going to end with some sort of like roller coaster down the mountain, but how they get up the mountain in the first place could be very interesting.
Yeah. So that's cool. They're also working on a new Haunted Mansion movie as well. For me, it makes perfect sense for them to be doing all these attractions. They've got these attractions. They've got this built-in connection. They are established IPs in their own right. But also, I think apparently they've been getting such a good reaction from the focus groups about Jungle Cruise that they feel they've got like another big hit on their hands with this one. And obviously Pirates of the Caribbean was great. Didn't work so great for... the thing is, the Haunted Mansion movie was almost like of a different era. Same thing with the Tower of Terror movie. We're not going to mention the Country Bears. And Tomorrowland never really kind of was... That was very, very vague on how well it was connected. But yeah, they have had
Tomorrowland,
some sense.
yeah,
Yeah,
Tomorrowland had tonal problems.
yeah,
It wanted to tell to present a message, and then it forgot that you're supposed to tell a story around the message.
yeah.
Yeah, there is a little bit of a sense of deja vu. Where like, oh, Pirates did really well. Let's do Haunted Mansions. We'll see. I mean, Haunted Mansion
The
out
Haunted
of
Mansion
all,
came first.
I know, but
Yeah,
it was,
yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I always think of it second because I never watched it really, so I
Yeah.
don't know. Um, Out of all the rides that they could do one out of, other than Pirates, it's probably got the most potential, which is why I can see them going back to it.
Well, there's been a lot of talk recently about like Big Thunder Mountain because in like Paris and in the comic books, they were actually all interconnected with the Phantom Manor. And it's like a mining town, and there's actually quite a bit of stuff that they could do with that. Oh, that's attacking, mate. Get off the stickers.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, that was one of the things that struck me about Big Thunder Mountain. If you go to the various parks that it's at, they do seem to tell a story. The three rides each have their own individual story, or sorry, Paris, Disneyland, and Disney World are the three I'm referring to. But they do have a story, so there's something for them to build on. And obviously, they've had the comics. I have not read the comics. I haven't read the Haunted Mansion comics, but I know they have something to build on with these comics and these stories for both of those rides, which gives them a stronger basis than some of the other rides. Honestly, even like what we were just talking about, the Matterhorns, like your story is you're running from a Yeti. Okay.
yeah, so they're all going to be coming. I mean, I'm all in. They might as well do it. I mean, they can base it on books. They can base it on. It's generally just an idea, really. I think Haunted Mansion is probably a little bit easier because they've got a little bit more of a better story. They've got main characters. They've got music. Matterhorn, it's kind of quite vague, so they've kind of a little bit.
Yeah,
more,
there's some sort of disaster, and they're getting chased by the Yeti. That's about. I mean, it's the same stories as Everest over at Animal Kingdom. So you've got that. Also, it feels like Haunted Mansion, they've added characters to it over the last 2 decades or so. Now, I realize some of those characters were added from the movies, like they updated some of the sculptures and such, but they have things they can work with from the ride.
Yeah. Okay, so moving on from there, let's now talk about some other news that broke this week. Apparently, Oliver Coleman and also Emilia Clarke are in talks to appear in the upcoming Marvel Secret Invasion series. So we don't really know too much detail. Not been officially confirmed. They've just been like in final negotiations. But this has been sort of said by the big trades. I think this is good. I mean, this is just some big names to be brought in. Secret Invasion could line up to being one of the big events, and I think things are building up to it. But what did you think about this one?
Definitely glad to see Emilia Clarke getting signed on to some more deals. When you get these major TV actors who are known for one particular series, or in her case, Game of Thrones, obviously, they have a tendency to kind of fade away after the series is done. It happens to a lot of actors for a variety of reasons. So I'm glad to see that she's still getting some big name projects, because we know Secret Invasion will be a big name project, whether it ends up being tied into the movies or some sort of I don't know, television super series or whatever. Yeah,
And Olivia Colman, fantastic in The Queen. She's been in loads of TV series over here, like Broadchurch, and so she's she kind of came from TV. She's been in a lot of movies, obviously lots of Oscars and awards. So she's doing pretty good. So I'm really excited about all of that. I think that's a good one. Now, right, let's now move on to some reviews, because we got tons of them. We got so much stuff to be watching this week. And yeah, my dog has decided this morning she's going to be a pain. Some weeks she just comes in and just sits down and goes straight to sleep. Today she wants to play with everything. So let's now talk about some of the originals. So we had Secrets of the Whales. So this one dropped on Thursday. Now, I did go through my thoughts on this last week, but you've had a chance to catch up. And what did you think of it?
right. So I'll do it real quick. I've only seen 2 of the 4 episodes so far, but I loved them. They were great documentary series. This was a great present on Earth Day. And if you have not gone into the National Geographic section at all, for whatever reason, you forget it's there, this is a reason to go into the National Geographic section. It finds a good pitch between content that will be good for adults while also keeping entertained for the kids. Sigourney Weaver does a great job. And honestly, it's just beautiful. Like the photography, cinematography is amazing.
It is.
Cameron knows what he's doing. He hires good people who know what they're doing. This is a must watch, especially if you love it. If you love underwater,
Yeah.
If you don't love underwater, give it a try anyway. If you're scared of underwater, maybe not, because you're definitely in the ocean for a lot of it.
Yeah, I mean, again, I said it was a fantastic series. I think it's it kind of feels like one of those figures this week where I feel like I'm like, it's out. Let's go watch it. It's out. Please, just as like I feel like a bit like, you know, it's almost like, I know it's not quite my job, but it's that kind of thing. Like, please go watch it. It is really good. It's just like
this. This is the content that you want. This is why National Geographic is on Disney Plus. And since we talked about it last week, we'll leave it with that glowing endorsement. Go watch this, guys. It's
go
really
watch
good.
it. Also, we got a new episode of the Mighty Ducks Game Changers. So this week's episode, I thought was kind of a nice pace. It shifted a little bit away from the kids, focused more on the adults. Bombay trying to woo Alex, kind of through her kid, which kind of was like, that's one way of doing it. He kind of saw an entry and kind of went for it and playing the, you know, the nice guy, you know, trying to kind of, you know, he's cool with it, he understands it, and then kind of ultimately deciding actually no, he's going to side with the kid and doesn't like the guy and kind of kidnapped him. And I thought that worked well. I mean, obviously it definitely got in some brownie points. And we kind of saw a nicer. I enjoyed that whole aspect. It felt like a little bit of a mid pause. Something I don't think you would have got that story if it had been a movie. It was very much middle. It was like TV. It was essentially TV filler. But this is where the series, should it get picked up for a second season, has got somewhere to go. If you don't want to do, you're going to be like Friends. You kind of stretch this out. You don't want to be going all in too quick.
Speaking of series where the actors kind of disappeared afterwards, in any event. I really like this episode too. This is actually probably my favorite of the Mighty Ducks episodes so far, but for a different reason. You actually were talking. I don't mind the Bombay and adult stuff. I thought that was pretty good, but I appreciated that we started to see some of the other kids, kind of getting some backstory, specifically nerdy Dungeons and Dragons girl with super popular TikTok influencer girl, and them kind of coming together. And I did really appreciate that. On the one hand, the Dungeons and Dragon girl was like, the popular girl was like, oh, I don't really want to be seen with the Dungeons and Dragons girl, even though we get along real well. I liked that they went the other way too, where the Dungeons and Dragon girl was like, oh man, I do not need my fellow players to know I'm hanging out with a popular kid. What would they think of me in that case? Because you normally only see the one half of the story.
I did like that. I thought that was a nice twist, because ultimately that does happen, you know, because as much as the popular kids think they're popular, they're not as popular as they think they are. Well, half the kids that want to be friends with them don't really like them.
and it's not even just that. It's like like calls to like, and you don't want to be the person who's like outside of your own clique. And so I thought they handled that really well. This was much better handled than some of the earlier things like that. So I liked that. We need an episode with the goalie now. Now I know they did the slumber party last time, but no, they need an episode with the goalie actually learning how to be goalie. They've played 6 games now, and he still doesn't know how to like do anything but stand there. And this is a very obvious deficiency in the team. So I'm kind of hoping the next episode they will start to get him going, because they can score as many goals as they want, but if your goalie is just standing there, you're never going to win. I know they won this episode, but that's not the point.
But I thought this was a nice solid episode, so that was good. We also got Big Shot episode 2. I'm gonna be honest, my memory's a little bit fuzzy of what happened in episode 2 a couple of weeks ago.
So this is the episode where he has to go and talk to the teachers because they have a scheduling conflict on she's doing a seminar, and he needs to have them practice for the game that's the very next day.
And that's the driver. My one biggest problem with this episode, that English teacher. Oh, I don't know. It has to be the worst English accent in the world. She might as well have just gone, all right, Governor, how are you doing? I'm English.
It was pretty bad.
It was offensive to me.
I honestly can't blame you. I was watching and it was like, going back to Dungeons and Dragons, this is the accent that the dungeon master puts on when he needs to have the NPC show up and give them some information and then just fly away. He put no effort into it.
Yeah, if you think that everyone coming over to England sounds like that, we do not sound, we're not in 1600s anymore. It's just, it's actually distracting and off-putting, like to be watching it. That was and there's, I'm sure the actress is great and all the rest of it, but that accent just was over the top.
So I gotta say, it's not just the accent. The whole teacher caricature that she was doing was so over the top. It wasn't well done, and the counselor was annoying too. He didn't have the accent, but he just like, there needs to be conflict between Stamos's character and the teachers, because obviously they're going to have different objectives. The teachers want to teach, and he wants the girls to play basketball. Yeah, he wants to teach basketball, but I have no sympathy for either of these teachers. They're presented in such pompous, arrogant terms. Both the counselor and the English teacher, just like, I wouldn't send my daughter to the school just to not deal with you two. Jeez.
Well, the thing is, at that point, is obviously, this might be something that happens in real life with scheduling and all the rest of it, and it
happens all the time.
But then it's a little bit along the lines of, well, if you've organized for a guest to come in, you maybe would have done it during your session, or I don't know. It was one of those things of, okay, but I did like the fact that the kids, I mean, you could see the setup coming a mile away with them doing the morning sessions on the court outside by the beach. But
they might have well as gone, this is Chekhov's gun right here, the basketball court. Pay attention, the basketball court will be important.
And I like how they did that. Just as a whole, again, for me, because I watched all the first 3 episodes all in like one sitting, it kind of was a little bit blurry of what comes next. But I enjoyed the series. I'm looking for it. I'm like, by the time episode 4 drops, it would have been over like a few weeks. So I'm like, I'm ready to jump in. Again, I just think this is a nice series. What about you so far?
I'm enjoying where it's going, and I liked that, in contrast to how poorly the teachers are being handled. I'm sure that they'll flesh out in later episodes, but the father of the star girl on the team is a very good antagonist so far, because like you can tell he's doing things because he wants the best for his daughter, but he's going about it in the wrong way. He's going into full control mode, and honestly, I get like Dead Poet Society vibes from him. The father who is over controlling his son. I don't think they're going the same direction as that movie went with it. It's not going that dark, but I think most of us, especially in our childhoods, remember the student who had the parent like that, and how much it obviously distressed the child in so many cases. And then jumping to a different one, I'm interested in seeing where they're going with Stamos's daughter character. Obviously, she hasn't really showed up in the series yet, but I'm guessing she's
episode 3 will really
that was kind of what I got from the end of the episode. So I'm interested to see where they go with that.
So I won't say anymore because I can't remember where. So that was good. So definitely worth checking out. I'm going to do a quick couple of star things. So we had a new episode of Solar Opposites drop. This one was really weird. They kind of had they redid the lighthouse, where they had a letterbox where they kept sending letters to the past and kept changing the future, and and then there's a whole thing with Yamulak having the only thing is, it's so stupid. It's like, basically this is like big, it's like the idea of like everyone that's got like confidence and all the rest of it is just this big thing of like having big dicks, and then he makes himself have one, and then he turns into a massive great big explosion in New York, which looks like one, and then Sigourney Weaver has to come in and take over it is, and you got Idris Elba coming in as a secret society of people with it is absolutely bonkers, and he just sitting there just laughing away. It's so stupid. It's just
I'm trying to remove that mental image from my head.
Oh, it is just, honestly, it is so stupid. It's so fun. It's such a great series. And it's great as well because this week, Solar Opposites actually even hit the top 10 streaming chart in the US on Hulu for the second season when it dropped. So it's like, this is such a great comedy series. So if you do like things like Family Guy, and if you're in the US, check it out on Hulu. We're halfway through, or about further away through season 2. I'm just really enjoying this series. It's so funny. It's bonkers, absolutely bonkers, and no
It
episode
sounds like
really
it.
kind of interconnects. I mean, if you try and explain it, I mean, it's just like so off the wall because they're just aliens that have come to this planet. They've got like no, and they've got all this technology. They just everything is possible, and you never know where they're going to go next. You just never know. I also watched it wasn't on in Hulu, it's on Hulu in the US. Over here it's on Amazon. We watched Palm Springs, and it's been out for a while. It's been up for a number of awards. That's like a really weird version of Groundhog Day, where
Cool.
kind of yeah, just you keep, if you die you come back, and he's just in a wedding going around and around. That was quite good. I mean, I only mentioned it because it's on Hulu in the US and it's a Hulu original, but it's one I've been wanting to watch for a while.
I do like the general idea of Groundhog Day. Like the movie itself is really good, and then obviously it becomes a staple of fantasy and sci-fi television shows if they run long enough. When it's done well, it's very entertaining. It's actually,
but I thought it was quite fun.
It's actually one of the very few episodes of Star Trek Discovery that I liked, is when they get stuck in a groundhog loop.
So that was that. Also, Grownish. I kind of plowed through seasons 1 and 2 because they dropped last week onto Disney Plus in the UK because they are Star Originals. They've not been released over here, and I kind of thought, well, I better watch a couple of episodes because we got season 3 dropping next week, and it's going to be dropping weekly for the 3rd season, and it's already happening in Australia and Canada as well. So I thought, well, if this is a new like weekly series, I should maybe just at least catch up. And I've been really enjoying it. They're set in a college. They're all in like this. They're all the basic stuff. I mean, it is very mature. They deal with lots of issues, and the fact that I've plowed through 2 seasons in a week says it's great because only like 25 minutes long. So I just kind of had them on, just rolling in the background. And I'm actually going to start Blackish after this because I didn't feel like I needed to watch Blackish to get into it, because I don't think you do. But I kind of feel like, well, if it's the same as this, I'm probably going to enjoy that as well. So, and that's on Disney Plus over here as well. So, and they're all again on Hulu in the US. But it's kind of one of those things with all these Star Originals of, we're going to be getting MODOK in a couple of weeks as well. That's been confirmed. We're going to be getting Rebels.
Speaking of bonkers,
yes,
the trailers dropped this pack. We won't talk about them, but
No.
those are nuts.
Yeah, so there's lots of great stuff on Star. So now let's talk about the big one. So let's talk about now Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Now we're going to be on. This will be kind of talk about the whole season. We're going to be going with full spoilers. I say spoilers because I don't really think. I mean, anyone really could have told where this was going. But what were your impressions of episode 6 or the finale?
So overall, I really enjoyed it. A lot of good action scenes, tied up a lot of loose ends, left a couple of loose ends for what will probably be Captain America 4. I know they just announced that.
I tell you what, that's the one thing that really surprised me yesterday, was this news broke literally just last night of Captain America 4 is now in development. And I was like, if you'd asked me in the morning, I was like, they're so leading up for Captain America and the Winter Soldier series. That's season 2. And I was expecting the kind of like the Book of Boba Fett kind of thing at the end. And then later in the day, oh wow, they're going straight into the movie. They've set them up, and they're like, okay, this is kind of weird.
But they can also take a number of directions. Not to go too far down this path, but they could take a number of directions, because they didn't set a date for Cap 4. They could easily have Captain America and the Winter Soldier in between now and then. They could also have Cap 4 be a midpoint between these two, where we have Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Cap 4, and Captain America and the Winter Soldier, or whatever it ends up being, all as like one giant narrative too. But we don't know. There's no details yet.
Captain America 4, the Dark Avengers. Or
the Thunderbolts.
Yeah, and whatever. do like they did with Civil War, where it's kind of like interconnected, and just throwing
it could be it could be Avengers 4.5 or 5.5. Yeah. The point is, we don't know yet, but it was announced. That is an official announcement. Captain America 4 is happening, and there's tons of stuff they can do with it. But in any event, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, overall satisfied with it. I will definitely be watching this series again, mostly for the action, admittedly, but it holds together pretty well. There are some kind of happy conveniences that move the plot along, especially in the earlier episodes. You just kind of have to go, okay, yeah, they need to get to the next point. There's also it's kind of speculation, but it does seem like they had to change the story at the last minute. There are hints within the show itself that things got kind of changed along the way.
Yeah, well, obviously COVID maybe changed their plans a bit, but for me, I really enjoyed that final episode because it felt like the climax of the series. It felt like everything had been building up to it. Everything had been building, to that finale. It all come to an end. I know there was because I got to the end of it. I thought it got to the end of the episode. Thought, wow, cool, great. That was a fantastic finale. Did everything it wanted. It's exactly where I wanted it to go, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great. And then I'm reading people going, oh, it's not as good. And then it's like, and they go, oh, they didn't do anything with the characters. Like, we've had 5 episodes building up to it. It's, we've done the building. This was about the payoff. This was about, you didn't have to do any more building. It was already done. This
was the end game. This was the end game to the series. End game, if you watch it by itself, is just a whole bunch of characters beating up, a Raisin Man.
Yeah.
But if you've watched even any of the MCU movies before that, then you get a much better payoff. It's much more obvious with Captain America or Falcon and the Winter Soldier because it's episode 6. You don't go into a television series, even one that's not built on this. You go into The Simpsons. You don't just go into episode 14 and be like, oh yeah, sure, things happen. This is the final episode of the series. But I will say there was one thing that I was not a little disappointed with in those terms, which was I felt like Bucky didn't have much to do in the finale. Now he had that blockade, obviously.
Well, that was a big moment for him.
It was a big moment for him, but that was it. And that fight was very short, whereas Falcon had multiple moments, and even John Walker had multiple moments.
Well, I think, to be honest, the big thing with Falcon with Bucky it was actually him rescuing the people out of the truck and them saying thank you. That was his big moment. That was the point when he got to be a hero, and he got thanked for it for the very first time. And he'd never been a hero before. He'd always been, we'd seen him building up to it, but nobody else had seen it. So that was a big thing, I think.
I don't disagree at all. Yeah. That was a huge moment for the character. And of course it allowed him to grow as a character so that he could confront that father at the end and tell him the truth. I just would have liked a little bit more action scenes, like get him involved in another fight before that at some point.
My one thing I wasn't so keen on was the big reveal of the suit. I really liked the whole Batman kind of aspect of the seeing him from the sky and Carly going, he's here. That kind of Batman. Cool. It kind of took me back to that 1980s Batman movie. I didn't like when he smashed through the window. It's like I needed more light. I needed to see this. It felt a bit dark, and I would have liked a little bit more light on him to kind of show off, like, hello, I'm here, superhero landing.
Superhero landing, and I'm Captain America.
Bucky got one.
That's true. Similarly, his fight with Batroc, I felt like it was way too saturated with red. I know that they were in emergency mode and all the red lights were on, but I was like, I would have liked a little bit more of a color palette.
Hides it fight. A bit, doesn't it?
Yeah. But those are minor quibbles.
I love the suits. It
looks great.
I can't wait till Monday could be a bit expensive. It's like all the merchandise will be announced on Monday. We know it's been coming. It's kind of that weird thing of people kind of going, the spoilers are going, we've known this. He's had this outfit for 10 years in the comic books. We know where they're going with it. But I really I liked it. I liked his whole suit. I liked this whole thing of him basically taking ownership of Captain America. I am Captain America. I don't need to be told. I am it. And he just he flies in. And the whole speech thing was a little bit over the top for me. But it made it. Essentially at that point, what that was telling the world who he is, what he is, saying, and for the people at home to go, oh yeah, he's right. He's worthy of being Captain America. He knows it. And also it felt a little bit along the lines of, he's telling us, the viewer, there's going to be, he knows, they know what the problem's going to be with this changeover to Captain America. And they addressed it head on. and I'm fully excited. I mean, I've been looking forward to this, but finally seeing it was great, and I I really dig this guy because we've not really ever seen this in a series or a movie. You know, we see it all the time in comic books where people take over mantles, but they've never done it on the screen before.
Not in this way, anyway. There've been a few small ones, but it's
It never
mostly
really mattered in like the Arrowverse or anything like
no,
that.
no,
I mean,
no.
yeah.
And it's not. And this isn't an actor change. This isn't.
No.
I'm Steve Rogers. Just ignore all the the physical differences between me and Chris Evans. No, this is. I am Sam Wilson, and I'm Captain America, and he gets to have the speech. I do agree, especially supposedly being an off the cuff speech. It was a little bit much, but they needed to have that moment. He needed the moment where he could appeal to both sides and show I can work with you, but you have to work with me. And also it shows the difference between him and John Walker, of course, whereas John Walker was assigned to be Captain America. This is he's ordered to volunteer or whatever the circumstances were. Whereas Sam was like, no one gave this to me. I mean,
well, he did.
he did. But the government didn't give it to him.
No.
He's not under orders. He's not taking orders from anybody. He is there to give his view. And that's an important distinction.
That's definitely, and I also felt like, I mean, the Wakandan suit really gave him an upgrade. I mean, he was able to lift buildings. He was able to fight. He had tech on him. He was so much more super. He was a superpower. He looked powered up. I mean, when you compare him to what he was like in the Winter Soldier movie, where he already had was a jetpack.
It was literally. Your powers are you have a jetpack and wings, and you can shoot two Uzis at the same time while jumping backwards off a helicarrier. That's your power. I
thought that was great. You mentioned John Walker. I really liked him in this episode. I was quite surprised they did the redemption arc so quick. I thought they might have been holding off. Because obviously he came in at the end and he's got the shield on the right. And of course you're there going, okay, is he going to now just go straight into fight mode with Falcon? Are we going to get the foe, Captain versus Cap? And of course he went, and he's there, got to rescue, or and he rescued. And he did it in front of everyone. They all got to see it, and he got to be the hero. And it was like, and then they were all like, him and Bucky just teamed up straight away. They instantly knew they were together. There was no arguments, no fights. The last time they saw each other, he broke his arm, but they were straight into, no, we got a job to do. We're soldiers. We're doing this. And I like that. I like the fact that they played up on him being kind of having a little bit of an issue, but I like that redemption. I then like the fact the reveal. He is the US agent. Here he is. Nice done and dusted. He's now working for Val. And I like that they tied it up in a nice little bow and set him off on his way as US agent, not leaving it open. Oh, is he coming back? They've done it. He's done. We know who he is. I know there was a little bit of confusion. I think there's going to be a lot of confusion from like casual fans of like the speed it was done. But for me, it made sense because of obviously knowing who he is. And I like the fact that, because I think everyone was expecting him to be the villain, this big villain and this big bad Captain America. And he's going to be the next big villain. And then he didn't become that. He never, and we kind of knew that was going to happen.
No, but speaking of revealing the villain, the interesting thing was Sharon Carter. Now, I think most people had figured out that she was the obvious choice for Power Broker. I was actually to the point where I was like, it's so obvious that she's the power broker that she can't actually be the power broker because it's, but no, I actually appreciated where it wasn't like a triple fake out where it's like, no, she's the power broker. But then having it end up being, well, she's the power broker, but she's not a good guy. And her getting her citizenship back and having reinstated is like, oh wait, no, don't reinstate her. You don't want to reinstate her. Where you're like, that was a nice little twist on it because you're like, no, Sharon Carter, of course she's a hero. Oh, yeah. Ooh, maybe not.
And then other people they go, oh, is she a scroll? Because now we've got all of this to go. And it's like, and everyone they go, because if she was a scroll, she'd want to be the status quo and settle in, not make massive waves.
Well, I mean, Secret Invasion. Let's let Secret Invasion.
We got all that to come. We got all that to come.
Let's wait on that one.
But
But
no,
overall,
I enjoyed that. Carly kind of, there was obviously that big thing of Falcon wouldn't, Sam wouldn't fight her. He didn't. He because there's that thing of he believed in her cause. He believed, he what she wanted. He 100% agreed with, but he just didn't agree with how she was doing it, and she was gonna, and he would, and that whole thing of him. It was only really Sharon that kind of stopped it,
and
because
the
Falcon just wasn't fighting. He wasn't fighting her.
and it really seemed like Sharon was only stepping in because Carly knew who she was, knew that she was the power broker. And if for whatever reason Carly had not known that, she'd probably still be alive. I think Sam, she would have either given herself up, or Bucky would have come in and fought her, because he would have no compunctions against fighting her at all.
Yeah.
I will say the actress, her name is escaping me at the moment, for Carly.
Oh yeah.
Not Van Camp. Was really good, and I would actually like. Obviously, she's not can't come back as this character, but I would love to see her.
I wasn't sure, you see, because it was kind of one of those weird things of kind of he flew in obviously and put her on the gurney and sent her off, and then he said, she died, and I'm like, well, why did you put her on a gurney? Why did you make that big like?
The gurney was weird. It is possible that she's still alive, especially because she's got the super serum, which does heal her. Mentioning, of course, John Walker breaking his arm, and now he's out here fighting like normal. But what I was going to say was, I would actually like to see a series with her as Enfy's Nest, reprising that role from the Solo movie, because I think she didn't get to do anything in that movie, and I think she showed she can, and the character had potential, and I'd be all in for an Enfy's Nest miniseries to kind of get a little more on that.
I also thought it was very interesting that they cleared up the flag smashers, like with Zemo. Because Zemo, I'm like, well, who's that? And then suddenly it dawned on me, like, who's the old dude? And it was like, oh yeah, it's the butler.
I forgot who it was until you cut to Zemo, and it's like, oh yeah,
it's I had done the same. We're going, who? And then suddenly, oh, and then it's, hadn't instantly kind of connected. They definitely needed that shot to Zemo to remind us who he was, because I think a lot of us might not have picked up on it. And just a nice, like, kind of like, yes, I was right. And in some way, it was like, it was a way of clearing house, but also maybe making sure that little loose end was all tied up. The issues will still carry on, but the super soldiers are kind of sorted.
They've sorted that. They had that one that was left in the in the river that they mentioned, and I don't think that character was in that van with all of them. So there's out there again the potential that Carly is still alive. But it was good to see Zemo for the moment. I know last week we were like, oh, he's going to be in part of the end credits? And once we saw him, I was like, okay, he's not going to be part of the end credits. And then, of course, Val mentions him in the U.S. agent scene. Like, oh, yeah, okay. So she's already got plans for him, and she appreciates that he, blew up the van for her.
Yeah. No, I really like this. To me, there were so many elements of the series that it was like, I left it and was just like, I was satisfied completely. I enjoyed it. I just thought it was a great, and it was that thing. And I do think Disney Plus really allowed these characters to grow, have extra time. That, if Captain 4 was this story, it would have been so much more rushed. I mean, I don't know. It's so hard to imagine how they could have done this in half the time.
Well, you'd have to cut out giant bits of it. The Wakandans probably wouldn't show up. Zemo might someone.
Well, I probably would imagine Zemo would have been in it, but maybe not even Winter Soldier.
Yeah, it might have been Falcon and Zemo.
Well, just a Falcon and US Agent, and that might have been like kind of it. That would have been all they. I don't think they would have had time for all the Bucky stuff.
And in addition to that, while we probably still would have had the Flag Smasher villains, I don't think we would have sympathized with them the way that we do. They might, when you go back and think about it, like, oh yeah, I kind of get where they're coming from, but you do not get those scenes where they get to explain their philosophy, explain why they're doing things, and get to see who they're helping. And that really made them far more sympathetic as villains than they would have had in a movie.
Yeah.
I mean, they probably would have still like killed innocent people because they've got to be evil, but you get that gray area.
I mean, I just like the whole like buddy cop vibe of Sam and Bucky. I think that works really well. Obviously, they played up on that whole thing of move your seat forward, and that's just grown into. And I really enjoyed that last scene with them in Louisiana at the boat. You know, Bucky just there, like lifting the kids up on his arms and just being fun. It's like we've never seen that aspect of him, and he got to relax. He's got a friend, he's got people around him, and he's at peace. And I really like that, how he's been such a moody character for the last 10 years. So it was really nice just to see, and just I'm really enjoying that whole kind of thing. Yeah, I just felt really as a whole that that whole scene with them being by the boat just chilling out was so nice to see them just being normal, and something that we don't normally get to see with the Marvel characters, that little bit of normality, him just hanging out and just being normal people, because ultimately when he takes the suit off, he's just a very well,
that was the thing with Winter Soldier, was he never took the suit off, even if physically he took the suit off. Prior to this, he was still Winter Soldier. When he was sitting in his hotel room or his apartment or whatever, brooding, he was still the Winter Soldier. When he was in that place that was all covered up in newspapers in Civil War, he was still Winter Soldier, even though he was also Bucky. And at the end scene, he was finally, no, I can relax, I can have fun, I can maybe flirt with Sam's sister a little bit, just to enjoy myself. And this has been the strength of both this series and WandaVision.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, WandaVision didn't get to have quite as many of these kind of moments because they were all plagued with the something's wrong, things are not what they look like. But these are the things that the movies don't have, especially for secondary characters like Scarlet Witch and Vision, Sam, and Bucky. And this is why I'm loving the Disney Plus series, even though they've got some flaws. They're not perfect storytelling. There were obviously some issues with WandaVision. As I mentioned before, I think some of the narrative storytelling in this was weak, especially in the beginning, where a lot of things just kind of happened because they had to happen. But the strength of having these character moments outweighs them massively. Because as we mentioned, I think every single week before this, Falcon and Winter Soldier, other than in Winter Soldier the movie, really had no character development at all, even though they each appeared in 4 or 5 movies.
Yeah. It's, for me, I'm going to be finishing off, if I was to compare right now, WandaVision versus Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I think I did enjoy Falcon and the Winter Soldier more. I feel like it felt like more of a traditional MCU kind of entry. It felt like I was watching a movie. I think I enjoyed the characters more. I think I enjoyed the whole buddy cop aspect. I like that thing of it. WandaVision, the whole kind of where they're going, what they're doing. I like that, and I really enjoyed it. And I was, in the moment, it was good. But they can't help but, for me, the first 4 or 5 episodes of WandaVision were kind of, they were crazy and bonkers. But I liked the last couple of episodes when we went into MCU mode. And I feel like Falcon for me felt such a more traditional, and I think I just enjoyed it more as a whole. I would probably put Falcon above WandaVision in my current Disney Plus rankings. I just really, there's so much more to it, and I don't know why. It just seems to have appealed to me more.
So I would agree. I put Falcon and Winter Soldier above WandaVision, but I think part of it is that the appeal of WandaVision was trying to piece the mystery together, trying to, all the fun that people had trying to, where's Mephisto? Is this character Mephisto? Is that character Mephisto? Of course, none of them were, but just that interaction that people had on the message boards and Reddit and Twitter, trying to put all the pieces of the puzzle together. I think that was the fun in WandaVision, which isn't to take away from the fact that it was still a good series on its own right. But when you rewatch it, or if you rewatch it, you're not going to get that again. You already know where it's coming from. The rewatch will be, oh, that piece leads to this revelation later. And we can see how they're setting this up here. It looked like it was just in the background before, but now it's part of the bigger puzzle, which is cool and all. But Falcon and Winter Soldier is a consistent narrative all the way through. It's got the good action pieces. It's got the humor. And you can just enjoy it regardless of at what point you're in.
It might be as well. I mean, I generally have always liked buddy cop movies. I've always I mean, they were kind of really big in the 80s and the 90s. They kind of drifted off a little bit more recently. So things like Bad Boys, those kind of, I've always liked that kind of aspect and that element. And I think bringing that into this as I wouldn't say necessarily a theme, but it would definitely kind of, if you had to pick a genre, kind of buddy cop kind of felt like that with this series. And I just like that. And I like the reveal of, Sam as Captain America, the suit. I really liked it. Yeah, and also it's so different from Steve Rogers' version. It's a very, he's not, because watching like seeing US Agent, seeing John, it's like, just put the shield on. You're not him. Whereas Sam being like, no, you are completely upping, you are different. I mean, the shield, I mean, he is using the shield, but the wings and everything he just looks so different. And I think I like that. I like that aspect of they've taken it in a different direction. It's not like, I don't know. I was really enjoyed it. I can't really praise it enough. We've got now, what, six weeks or so until Loki. So that's dropping on June the 11th. So we got a little bit of a break from the Marvel side of things, other than MODOK dropping soon. So we have...
I don't think we'll be talking too much about MODOK because I don't have Hulu. I'm not getting Hulu for MODOK, but we might mention it. I think it's going to be on Star. I think we should have a behind the scenes for Falcon and the Winter Soldier next week, right? Yeah. And we would have had Black Widow, except that got pushed not that long ago. So that's coming in July, I think.
Yeah, now? July the 9th.
Right. But that would have been right after, and then that would have had a making of, and then we'd only have like a week or two before Loki.
I'm going to be honest. I think this is good. I think this is good. I think having a month off is going to be good. I think it's going to allow the other shows to breathe a little bit. We've got High School Musical, the series dropping. Part two, the sequel. So that one is dropping in mid. So we're going to the Bad Batch. The Bad Batch is starting, what?
10 days, 9 days, something like that.
Yeah. And we're going to get 2 episodes that week. This is, we're going into a whole, and that's going to be running at least, we know at least 14 episodes, because that's what the composer Ed said he was working on episode 14. So it's even long. So it might be a bit longer than that. So we have got multiple shows dropping. In some way, the Marvel shows kind of overwhelm everything, because the PR cycle goes around it. Sitting there going, it's not like going, Falcon's over. Oh, we've got nothing now till Loki. But no, we have got 4 to 5 shows a week dropping. So, it's like, we've got plenty to catch up on. Some people sort of saying like, May's like, oh, it's not, it's like, well, if you're only interested in Marvel or big Star Wars movie, like Bad Batch is going to be fun. I'm looking forward to Bad Batch. And I just think, having, all these different shows on at the same time. And plus, for us as well, we're getting all these Star originals as well, because we're getting MODOK and Grownish and Rebel. So we've got a few different shows dropping as well, and Big Sky coming back. So we've got, for me on a Friday, I think like the 21st of May and the 28th of May, there is like 8 different shows dropping. So it is kind of quite nice.
It is nice. And then also, if you have only been watching for the major releases, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, WandaVision, Mandalorian, whatever, try some of these other shows that have been dropping. Unless you've got kids, you might skip the Mighty Ducks, or if you've got nostalgia for the movies, obviously you're probably already watching. But give Big Shot a try. It's much better than I was expecting it to be.
Yeah, I think I can't. You don't have to like sports. It is a really good kind of like. I think as well as a little bit more mature than maybe we were expecting.
It mixes the teenage school drama pretty well with adult relationships and being a parent, and
it kind of
Stamos is doing a good job.
It kind of feels a bit like you're coming out like Mighty Ducks, High School Musical, or you've kind of got Diary of a Future President, Mighty Ducks, High School Musical, then Big Shot in terms of like maturity as they're going through the classes. Kind of is I like school and stuff. There is a kind of there is a general tone going through them all. I still think they would have been better off not having 3 high school shows dropping together in May, but that's
I,
just yeah.
I would take bigger issue with them having both the two sports themed ones.
Yeah.
Like I could see them doing High School Musical and either Big
Yeah.
Shot or Mighty Ducks, but having Mighty Ducks and Big Shot where they're both covering very similar ground on the sports
Yeah.
side of things, like maybe separate those out a little bit more. And obviously they probably would have been separated out a bit more if COVID had not kind of screwed up the entire schedule.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think we would have had Big Shot and probably Mighty Ducks. Yeah, I mean, all three of them got delayed, but yeah, it's just really kind of. I mean, I'm really looking forward to Bad Batch. That's my kind of one. It's kind of like you look at May and kind of go, okay, well, there's 4 originals, and Bad Batch is definitely the one I'm most excited for. But I mean, also just having Big Shot and Mighty Ducks being 10 episode seasons mean, that's a 2.5 month chunk block booked in. But yeah, so it's kind of one of those weird things of like, it's not that 8 o'clock morning for me, must watch 8 o'clock, get off the internet, spoiler zone, which has become that's what I get with like the Marvel and the Star Wars ones. I probably will be doing it with Bad Batch. I think I probably will be doing that. That'll be my 8 o'clock ritual for the coming weeks.
I think I might for Bad Batch, but mostly because it's a shorter series. Like I couldn't do it with Falcon and the Winter Soldier with a 40-minute runtime. Be like I'd have to get away early before first meeting and all that stuff. But I think I could do it for 20 minutes, or I could at least watch it during lunch break or something like that. But
I mean, I gotta be honest. I mean, I've now got to that point of it's kind of it's just the schedule 8 o'clock Disney Plus launch. Kind of that's kind of the Friday morning routine. I've kind of got it. It's kind of just it's part of my routine now of like watch it. Get everything, check everywhere's had everything uploaded, watch the biggest show, write the review, and then I go out grocery shopping.
It's kind of interesting because we've talked about this before, but it feels like we're back at the launch day where we had to, be like, all right, pick and choose. But whereas on the launch day, it was more like, I should probably watch this because that's one of the big name titles, even though I'm not really interested in it. And I should watch this so I can talk about it. This one, I'm like, all right. I want to watch this. I want to watch this. I want to watch this. Like I probably would not have watched Big Shot if not for this, but having seen the first episode, now the second episode, I'm like, oh no, I'm watching this every week. You don't have to force me. You don't have to twist my arm. I'm going to be here.
I feel like it's like with dramas, it kind of when the characters and the story gets you, it kind of then you're being entertained and you kind of want to see where it goes. And because I don't know, there are some shows like Dollface and Filthy Rich. I didn't have that. I watched the first episode and it was like, I'm not going to watch any more of these. I know there's new episodes dropping, but I'm not enjoying it. And I've not watched any more since the first episode. So it's not like, I have done that way to certain ones. I think Encore and also, I think it was Encore and like the Jeff Goldblum. Jeff Goldblum was one that way I just dropped off because I just was really losing my interest in that series. But yeah, so this has been a few over the times, but it is quite nice having the drop, and I do think having them weekly does help with the more. But there we go. So obviously that's the big one. Let us know in the comments below what you thought of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier finale. Love to hear your thoughts on all this and what you're looking forward to seeing in May. Always great to hear. Again, you can go support us over on Patreon and YouTube channel members. I'll be back tomorrow with a live chat on YouTube at 8 o'clock UK time. And also there will be a review going out of Miracle, another hockey one, which me and Jeremy did. And yeah, on that note, guys, thank you very much. We'll see you guys soon. Later.
Watch Secret of the Whales.
Secret of the Whales.